Okay, we're in business here. We could see this. Okay, yesterday we're in the sugya of psukim. We have two psukim. One is the Vayikru Yudches Pasuk Tes. One is Vayikru Yudches Pasuk Yud Aleph. The pasuk says, "Ervas achoscha bas avicha," the erva of your sister, bas avicha, the daughter of your father, oy bas imecha, or the daughter of your mother. Moled espayas and moled schutz loy segal ervasan. Notice it doesn't say anything about ishus over here. It doesn't say anything about ishus over here whatsoever. It could be right. It could be that it's a daughter man usasai. That whether it's an usasai, it could be that a daughter is a result of a rape that you forced. So this is now the pasuk then Yud Aleph says, "Ervas bas eishes avicha moledes avicha," an erva of your stepdaughter, Pashas bas, the daughter, eishes avicha, the wife of your father, moledes avicha achoischahi. It says the word achoischahi. Loisegal ervasa. It's an issa arayos. So we saw machlokes between the Chachamim and Rabbi Yosef of Yehuda as to whether you're chayiv once or twice. Like the Chachamim, you're going to be chayiv twice. Like the Chachamim, you're going to be chayiv twice. You're going to be chayiv achoscha, and you're going to be chayiv bas eishes avicha. Like Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, you're going to be chayiv only once. You chayiv only once. Now, the thrust of the daf, the first part of the daf is going to be what does each one do with others pasuk. So have these pasukim over here, right? They're right over there. You see them in front of you because now I'm going to take them away, and now we give the daf hatzlacha to everybody. It's not easy. Okay, so, I'm speaking to myself, right? Right? Hey, listen, you got to be honest, right? Okay, we're beginning the daf. Excellent. Okay.
I left my computer home. Is that all right?
Very good. Okay, anyway, let's turn Rabban. I'm going to go through it quickly. The two dots on Chaf Beis on the base. This is what we just spoke at. Turn Rabban. If someone has relations with his sister, he bas eishes aviv, and she happens to be the daughter of his father's wife. Chayiv mishum achaysay mishum bas eishes achim. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, I mean, no, ain't chayiv el mishum achaysay b'bad. L'loy mifnei bas eishes aviv. My tamay the Rabbanan who say chayiv both. Imi michte kesiv. Ervas achoischa bas avicha bas imecha. Ervas bas eishes avicha moledes avicha achoischa hi lamali. What do you have to say in the pasuk of bas eishes avicha? Why do you have to interject achoischa? Why are we interjecting in your aleph? In the middle of your aleph, we interject achoischa hi lamali. It's why do you need it? Shmami no. It's the stress. L'chayvei mishum achoischa. In addition to eishes bas eishes avicha, in addition is what achoischa emishum bas eishes aviv. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, what does he do with that diuk? The fact that it says in your aleph they interjected achayschi. Amakra achayschi mishum achaysei temechayv avita mechayv mishum b'ashes. It's making stressing. You're only chayv for achaysei, only achaysei, not by sheses of it. Rabbanan hay achayschi himayav. What did the Rabbanan do with that? It says Gemara mi boyle lechayv el achaysei bas aviv ubas imay. To tell me that what you're chayiv for both. In other words, it's a pashut thing, guys. If you're chayiv for a half sister, you're chayiv for a full sister. So the Chacham is saying, no, you need a pasuk to tell me you're chayiv for a full sister to teach me a universal din, that emas hirin min adin. You cannot learn out a warning from a kal v'chomer. One of the Yud Gimel Midas that the Torah is nidreshes is the kal v'chomer. You would not need the Torah to go ahead and tell me what you're chayiv for a full sister. I can go ahead and ascertain it through a kal v'chomer. If I'm chayiv for a half sister, of course I'm chayiv for a full sister, right? If I'm chayiv chorus for being with a half sister, of course I'm chayiv chorus for being with a full sister. Ella, why did the Torah tell me achoischi? Tell me you don't ashna chav v'chomer. You know, when it comes to azharis, when it comes to warnings, ein mas hearing, you do not learn azharis min hadin from a kav v'chomer. That's the reason it says achoischi. The stress, you don't do it. Loima shem as hearing min hadin. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda im kein lichtav rachman achoischa. If that's all it's coming to tell me, just say the word achoischa. He lamali. Mishum achoischa atamachayva. It's v'yatamachayva mishum bas aviv. Basav. You only chayiv for what? Achayscha, but you're not chayiv for what? For bas eishes aviv. You only chayiv for achayscha, but you're not chayiv what? For bas eishes aviv. The Rabbanon, right? The Rabbanon, why do they say, what is the he? What do they do with the he? Af al gav, dechsiv achayscha. Even though it says the word achayscha, right? It's by basav and basimoy. It's the michtav he. You still need to write the word he. Shaloi toima, you shouldn't say the almo all over in every other place. Mazirin min adin, and what you will learn out of kal v'chomer. The chi tema, what are you going to say? What do you have to write a chayscha? If you learn out what? That you would be chayiv for eight masirim min adin, and therefore you will be chayiv for a full sister. Why do you have to write a chayscha? So to tell me what? That milsa da'asa b'kal v'chayim Torah v'kasav l'kra. Something that you can learn out from a kal v'chayim. The Torah tells me anyway. In other words, I could have learned that from a kal v'chayim, guys, that a full sister is chayiv. A half sister is chayiv. It's only a full sister is chayiv. Why would I need to say that why would the Torah have to tell me? Sometimes what the Torah does is what? Milsa, the asim kal v'chayim, something you can learn from kal v'chayim. Torah, the Torah troubles itself to tell you from a pasuk, but I would think mashirin min adin, Talmud Lema, he no a mashirin min adin. In other words, without the he, I could possibly think the reason why it's repeated to teach me, no, not to, just to tell me, Milsa, something that you learn from kal v'chayim, a full sister's chayiv, the Torah repeated, achoyska, right? Says the Gemara, no, he. It's come to teach me dafka. He, that what it's a masirin min adin. That's what it's coming to teach me. Rabbi Yosef of Yehuda, in Cain, right? If the kavanah is the Torah to teach me what achoyska he, and not to be Torah, right? A kal v'chayim, lichterach man ala achoyska he bidachkra. Why did it write it in the pasuk of Yud Aleph? You should have written it in pasuk Aleph. You should in pasuk Tes. You should have put it in the parsha, in that parsha. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, right? Hi bas eshes avicha my avidlei. Okay, now so each one has their own libur. Now the question is the following: Loi Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, since you're not chayiv for bas eshes. In other words, if you're with your stepsister, you're only chayiv for sister, right? You're not chayiv for stepsister. What does he do with that limud? The pasuk says bas eshes avicha, the daughter of your father's wife. The daughter of your father's wife. What does he do with it? Since he's telling me that's teaching me dafka, you're not only chayiv for chayiv. Says you need it for the following: Misha yesh leishis la'avicha, ba. Someone who has kedushin to the father, it's asa mishma chayiv. Prat la'achayiv, right? Said mishpachas v'vikachavim shein ishis la'avicha ba. Okay, here's the following then. It's coming to teach me a totally separate din halacha. Eishes, in other words, eishes bas avicha, and the key word being eishes. In order to be mechayev for achaysai, it has to be someone that it's shaykh ishus with the father. If it's not shaykh ishus, it's not shaykh kedushin with the father, then you would not be called achaysai. So if a man would be with an eved, a shivcha, or a gayita, in that case the child is not a chaysai. Why? Because if a man is mekadesh an eved, or a man is mekadesh a gayita, a nachris, you're pater. I mean, not pater. It's not ishus. So Memela, that's what it's coming to teach me. Eishes basa avicha. If there's ishis, then there's a chayi. But if it's not, then not. That's what it's coming to teach me. Okay. What? No, Eved Ivri is a yid.
No, what I mean, because
give me the case. A naira?
No, a shivcha.
A shivcha is not an Eved Ivri.
No, an Eved Ivri. You know, an Eved Ivri is allowed.
An Eved Ivri is allowed.
Is allowed to be with a shivcha.
Yeah, but there's not kedushin. There's no kedushin. That's not kedushin. That's just that's working the fields. That's there's no kedushin there. A man can go ahead and produce more avodim from a. The halacha is an Eved Ivri can be with a shifla kanainis. An Eved Ivri can be with a shifla kanainis, but not kedushin. It's you work me day and night, and you work the night shift producing more avodim for me. Okay, that's the. But again, I hear you tzushtel. Okay, so Fred the Gemara. So says the Gemara Vaita. Let me just see over here. Says the Gemara Vaita. The ema prat la'achoisai anusa. Maybe if your father produces a child through bima anis, forcing himself, that girl would not be a chaisai. And that in other words, if your father has a daughter through bima anis anisha, let's say that would not be included. Of course, it says, guys, Eishes Basavicha. What's Eishes? Meaning the father married as opposed to the father forced himself upon. The father married as opposed to the father forced himself upon. It says, you can't possibly say that a girl that's produced from a union of Anos is not a sister. That's good? Because hear the words, Eishes Basavicha. So it says, why do you assume that it's to exclude if a man's with a guy or a man's with an a shivcha, maybe it's to exclude if a man's with a full-fledged Jew, but the union was one of he forced himself upon. And since it's not ishus, it's not considered a chaysa. How do you know that? You know, just fit it in the pasuk, right? How do you know that? It says you can't possibly say that. The Rava from Rava's din. The Rava Rami. Rava asked the following stira. Ksiv. It says in Perek Yud Ches pasuk Yud, Erves bas bincha, the erva of your son, bas bincha, your granddaughter, guys. Oy bas bitcha, your granddaughter. It's your granddaughter from your son or your granddaughter from your daughter. Loy segale, right? It's dafka mashmawat, the erva of bas bitcha is also to you. Her bas binna, but the bas of your what? Your stepdaughter, dida, ubas bita dida, your wife's grandchild, then I would say what? It would be shari, would be muta. So therefore, ksiv, it's written, ervas isha ubita loy segala. The erva of an isha and a daughter, you should be megala. So if you're living with the stepwife, you can't live with the daughter. Isha ubita, right? You can't live with the isha, you can't live with the bita. As bas minov, as bas bita. So how's it possible that what from the diak of the first one, and then says the pasuk, hakeitzad? How do you go ahead and explain this? The two psukim, they shouldn't be size to each other. Again, the first pasuk is mashma that the daughter from your only yours are asa, granddaughter's asa to you, but not your wife's. And then you have a pasuk saying your wife. How do you reconcile the two? It says hakeitzad kan. The pasuk that says ervis bas bincha is speaking about what? Right? It's speaking the oinsin. It's speaking about a girl that you produce through a union. So therefore, obviously, it's a chayslay. You know, as your granddaughter is also to you. If this granddaughter was the product of anus, so if your granddaughter is also to you, it's also to your son. It's a chayslay, right? In other words, if you're going to tell me the whole reason to say she's not a chayslay because a man forced himself upon a woman, then it shouldn't be also to you, what else, granddaughter, but she is. So therefore, it's asa. The kan and the pasuk that says that your wife, your regular stepdaughters, granddaughters from step is asa, is speaking binasuin. So therefore, we've proven unequivocally that it can't be anus. Again, guys, what are we doing? Let's just stay on the map. Rabbi Yehuda says that you only chayef if you're with your stepdaughter, you only chayef for achaysa. You're not chayef for stepdaughter. Why does he do with the pasuk Eishes basavicha? Why does he do with that pasuk? So it comes to exclude that what? That only someone that comes ishus is achayscha. Someone who doesn't come from ishus is not achayscha. It's not your sister. Who doesn't come from achayscha? An eved or a guy. You wanted to say maybe it's an anusa. You said no. Anusa clearly is your daughter. Now we're going to go through various places that maybe there's no ishus. So ishus baslavicha, the ishus doesn't fit in. So maybe these are not achayscha. That's what we're trying to fit in now. The aim of prat l'chayve lavim. Let's say a man is again the product of chayve lav. A man's is with someone according to a grusha, according gadol to an almana. Any chayve lavim. Maybe that is not considered achaysai. So Rav Papa says Rav Papa that's not possible to say that. Says the Gemara Rav Papa chayve lavim tafsi b'kedushin. We know that chayve lavim, with the exception of Rabbi Akiva, everyone holds that chayve lavim that kedushin works. Dichsiv, because it said dichsiv kiseyen ish. Guys, this is a limud that is bringing an agav over here, but it's a good limud to know. It's a famous limud. Kiseyen al ish shtei nashim. If a man has two wives, achas ahuva the achas snua. One of the wives is a beloved wife, and one of the wife is a snua. So you learn the pasuk literally. A man's got two wives, he's got a favorite, and one's not a favorite. That's not what it means. Now, these are speaking about le'inya nachla. Guys, the pasuk says, he sent on ishtei nashim achas snua achas snua the yoldulay banim ahuva snua ben abachar l'sniya, that the ben abachar is to the one he doesn't like. So l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't take into emotion. In other words, if this is the bachar, that's the bachar, right? So the yesh. So we're saying is the yesh ahuva ve'amakom yeshnu ve'amakom. Ella, what does it mean ahuva ve'snua? It doesn't refer to emotions. It refers to in the Indian eris kedushin. That achas ahuva means binisueha, that he's married to a woman beheta. Usneya and sneya snua binuseha, that is married to Kadosh Baruch Hu, who's not happy with the nisuin, but it's nisuin. And Amar Rachmana kisiyena, the guy's outside. Kisiyena li'ishtei nashim ha'achas ha'ahuva. It's a marriage that a Kadosh Baruch Hu blesses. The achas snua, it's a marriage that Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't bless. But it says kisiyena shtei basiyena lashon kedushin. That's a lashon avaya. So what do you see? That Kedushin's typhus. So if Kedushin's typhus by Chayv Lavim, there's no svara to say that a child from that union would not be what? A Chaysai. That you wouldn't be Chayv for what? For a Chaysai. So therefore, that we've rejected that. Again, let's take another stab at it. The aim of prat lechayve krisus, that the Torah is coming to be mayit chayve krisus, that's not your daughter. That if a man's with chayve krisus, which actually is a mamzeres, that'll be a mamzeres. It's not your daughter. Amar Rava, says Rava, Amar Kra ervas achayscha bas avicha ubas imecha and moledes bayis or moledes chutz. That's the pasuk. That was pasuk test, guys, right? What does moledes bayis and moledes chutz mean? Bein she'oimim loy la'avicha kayim, whether you tell the father stay with this woman, ubein she'oimim loy la'avicha hoitzi moledes chutz. Guys, she's a product of a union of chutz that you have to tell the father what? Get out. Again, moledes bayis, meaning you birth to someone who stays in your house because the kedushin is a good kedushin, versus moledes chutz, where you're going to have tell her that the child is born. You have to let it go, let the woman go, because the kedushin is not a good kedushin. That's obviously chayve krisis, where the kedushin is not typhus. And what does the Torah say? It's your sister. So far we've held serve. Again, how do we get into this? Let's recap. We got machloikis between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi. If a man is with a sister who happens to be a step, right? A basaricha, what's he chayiv for? Says the Chachamim, you chayiv for two things. You chayiv for stepdaughter and you chayiv for a chayscha. Good? You chayiv for bas eshes avicha, for the daughter of your father's stepwife, and you chayiv out for a chayscha. That's the Chachamim, right? And he said, and both psukim he puts together. Rabbi Yossi says you only for a chayscha. So what are we doing now? If you only chayiv for a chayscha, what does he do with the Chachamim's limud? What does he do with the base Eshes Avicha? Right? So we're saying where there's Ishus in the house, that's when it's a Chaysko. When there's not Ishus in the house, it's not. When's there not Ishus in the house? If it's the union of an Eved or a Shivcha. We've gone ahead and challenged it. We challenged it from Anusa. Maybe that's no Ishus in the house. Rejected that. That as definitely is what? A special pasuk that we say that if a man is with Anusa, she's his daughter, so she's his daughter, it's your sister. Secondly, we went and we trust from Chayve Lavim. We said Kedushin's typhus by Chayve Lavim. There's no sort to say it's not your daughter. And then we have what? We have a Chayve Krisis, and we're proving that the pasuk says Moledes Bayis and Moledes Chutz is Chayve Krisis, Moledes Chutz, and nonetheless it says a Chayschhi. So therefore, so far we've only held serve that what in Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, the only one that's not a Chayschha is the daughter of what? A Shivcha or an Avedes Kechafim. That's what we said so far. Guys, we're good. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Right? This is the easy part, guys. This is by far the easiest. Trust me, my chavus is sitting here going, you haven't seen anything yet. He's sitting there going like this. Yeah, if you took a look at the pictures beforehand, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Baruch Hashem, right? I think we should have atzlacha. Okay. Now, Ema bein sho'im lo avicha kayim. Chutz bein sho'im lo avicha kayim, bein sho'im lo avicha hoitzi. V'amrachmana achayschhi. Says the Gemara, Ema bein sho'im lo avicha kayim, bein sho'im lo avicha hoitzi. Either way, v'amrachmana achayschhi. Right? The rabbis achayschhi mishivcha b'avayis chachavim. Let's say, guys, we can dash the pasuk the other way. Guys, watch. Moledes bayis or moledes chutz. Either way, and then what would include even what shivcha and right. Again, I could read the pasuk, guys. Right, I could read that pasuk. Here we have the pasuk right on the big screen. What does the pasuk say? Ervas achayscha bas avichai basi mecha moledes bayis and moledes chutz loisagal ervasan. So watch the erva of your sister, whether it's from your father or your mother. Whether it's from a ledes bayis, someone you have to let go, stay in the house, or you ledes chutz, loisagal ervasan, right? And that would include what? A shivcha and the kananis, that they would be included in the parsha what of achayscha. Says the Gemara, look, you can't say that. Amakra bas eshes avicha. The other pasuk says bas eshes avicha. Mishesh le ishas la avicha. Someone who has ishas to your father, that kedushin will be typhus. That Vat Prat, the sister that comes from a Shivcha Yidachon, where Kedusha is not Taifas. Why do you see to go ahead? Guys, you have two choices over here. You can include Chayve Krisis, or you can include Evet. They're both, guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. Eishes Basavicha. There has to be Ishus. I have two parshas that don't have Ishus. I have the parsha of Evet and Shivcha. I have the parsha of Chayve Krisis. I opted to say Chayve Krisis are in the ballpark. I opted to say that Evet is out of the ballpark. Why did I go directionally to there rather than to there? They're both Ishus doesn't work. Bas Eishes Avicha. Both don't fill the bill. They don't fulfill the pasuk, right? Yet you're including what? You're including Chayve Krisis to say it's a sister. Why? I can just as easily give him my druthers, include what? I include Evet v'Shivcha and exclude Chayve Krisis. Why did I go that direction? That's the Gemara's kasha. Says the Gemara, Umar Royas, why did you see to go that direction? You could have gone in the other direction. And after going Mistabit Svar to say, Chayve Krisis Havi Leila Rabbis, I should include Chayve Krisis to say that it's in the Parsha. Shekain Tafsi Ba Kedushin La Alma. Now, guys, by an Evet v'Shivcha, no Jew can marry them. By a Shivcha, a Shivcha and an Oivik Yechavim, no Jew can marry them. By Chayve Krisis, you can't marry them, but somebody else could. In other words, they're in the ballpark of Kedushin. Vis-a-vis you, they're in Erva, but somebody else, they're not in Erva too. Where the Evet and the Kananis, they're universally, the Akum, they're universally out of the Parsha. So therefore, it's more far to say that who would I call a Chaisra? A Chayve Krisis, rather than what? Then, right. Adarabba, I'll show you, let's go the other direction. Shifcha v'avoidis kechavim, havilei l'rabbis, we should include them in Achaisra. The imegaria l'didei nami tafsi b'kedushin. Now, guys, in other words, do I look at the whole or I look at the individual? If I look at the whole, then Chayve Krisis has a Mila. If I look at the individual, then Evet v'Shivcha have a Mila. Because if they're Megaya, you can marry them. In other words, you literally can marry them. If they're Megaya, the whole reason the Kedusha is not Taifis is because they're an Evet or an Akum. But let's say they would convert, then you could marry them. So therefore, there's a tzad to say that they have more shaykhs, since individually to you they have more shaykhs rather than Chayve Krisis, which will never have shaykhs to you. In other words, you can never marry Chayve Krisis, but you could marry this Shivcha and this Akum. So maybe include that. Says the Gemara, no. When they go ahead and Megaya, then they're a whole different mat, a whole different parsha. When they're Megaya, they're a whole different parsha. So in other words, they're not considered a Shivcha, they're considered a whole different person. So therefore, we're excluding them. So now we clearly, Rabbi Yossi Shita, guys, just to conclude, says Rabbi Yossi, if you're chayav with your father's wife's daughter, you're chayav for a chaysa, you're not chayav for Eishes Basavicha. Okay, like the Chacham, you chayav both. What does Rabbi Yossi do with Eishes Basavicha? He learns out that anyone who has Ishus is your daughter, is your sister, but not an Eved, not an Akum. They're not your daughter. They're not daughter, not a chayska. Okay, now. Shoygeg. I spoke at last night. If you do it b'shoygeg, you have to make two chatas rather than one. Right? That would be enough community, right? You can't get killed twice, right? No, but the chiyah here is chorus. You can be chayiv two chorus. So you can be chayiv chorus twice. I mean, the chiyuv is there. I mean, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can decide how to meet it out. But the nafkamina, practical nafkamina would be in a scenario of shogeg where you'd have to bring what? Two karbanos. Good. Now, the Rabbanon fellas, they use, guys, the Rabbanon use Eishes Basavicha for a lav, right? Where do they know that an Eved and a Shifcha are out of the ballpark? Where do they know that, right? They use that, right? So now, for Rabbanon who use Ervas Bas Eishes Basavicha for a lav, Lamute Shifcha V'Achedes Chav Minalo, where do they know to be Mamayit a Shifcha V'Achedes Chav from being a Chaysai? Where do they know to exclude it from? They don't have the same sources of Rabbi Yehuda. Again, this is like ping pong. You're going back and forth. This one. It's a classic limud. It says, this is what spoke out to Chaim HaKohen. Guys, in Parshas Mishpatim, it says you have an Eved Ivri, and Eved Ivri can be given to a Shifcha Kananis, and they have children. So if it's a Jew, it should stay with what? With him. What does it say? Ha'isha v'yiladeha, the woman and her children, tiye, they shall be, la'ado neha, they'll be to the owner, the master. So obviously they're not Jewish. It's all you did was create more slaves. All you did was create more slaves. Therefore, that's how he knows that by shifcha. Now he doesn't have yet a limit for akum, but he would know shifcha. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda chad b'shifcha v'chad b'avedes kechavim. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, this is one is by shifcha, one's by avedes kechavim. One eishes avicha is for one's for this and one's for the other. But tzricha, you need to tell me both. Tiashmin and shifcha, that shifcha is not in the ballpark. Mishum the ein lo chiyas. Shifcha has no chiyas. There's no yichus to anybody. They're just considered. Rashi brings the pasuk zeresu asusum zermasam, that the am hadoim lechamar. We learn that from Avram Avinu, guys. By the Akedah, they were accompanied by Eliezer and Yishmael, and he asked them, "What do you see?" He saw Vayaras Makam Erachak. He was able to see the Makam Akedah from a distance. He asked Yitzchak, "What you see?" Yitzchak said, "A beautiful mountain with a cloud over it." He asked Yishmael and Eliezer, "What do you see?" They said, "We don't see anything." So he goes, "You don't see anything. You're like the Chamarim. They also don't see anything." We say, "Amadoim lechamar." Just like a Chamar has no yichus, has no chiyus, so too a shifcha has no chiyus. So there's no connection to any paternal connection whatsoever. There's no paternal connection. Ain't no chiyus. He doesn't have any yichus. That's by, however, a guy does have yichus. A guy is connected to the father. We call him the father. The yeshmin shifcha with the ein chiyus. Avol avedis kechavim the isla chiyus emaloi. The yeshmin avedis kechavim mishum loy shachis b'mitzvahs. The avedis kechavim is not shachis b'mitzvahs. Therefore, they're not in the ballpark of a chayska. Avol shifcha the shachis b'mitzvahs. Guys, a shifcha is mechuyev mitzvahs kiisha. And Eved is mechuyev. They have long lamiish. They're mechuyev mitzvahs. So I said like tzricha, and therefore what I need to tell me both. I need to tell me that the shifcha is out of the ballpark, and the product of Avedis comes out of the book. Now, the Rabbanon have a source for shivcha. Where do they have a source for an akum that the child of an akum is not considered a chayska? For Rabbanon, Ashken shivcha Avedis kechav minalahu. How do you know by Avedis kechavim that's not? Okay, v'chitei minel from the shivcha. You can't learn it from the shivcha. Why? Because shivcha has a mile. It's mechuyev mitzvahs. So okay, so you have a pasuk. This is the limud. This is the limud that we learn that memiyaches the guy after the mother. Depending on the mother, this is the source, depending on the mother. So here's the pasuk. The pasuk says, here's the whole pasuk. Im ki yaser es bintcha me'acharai. He will turn your daughter away me'acharai, v'avdoi elehim acherim, and they serve avodah zarah. Now, the pasuk before says a Jewish man shouldn't take a Goyish woman, and a Goyish woman and a Goyish man should not take a Jewish woman. Good. Now, the next pasuk, it doesn't say that the Goyish woman will turn away your son because it's not your son. Why does it say ki yaser es bincha me'acharai? He, the goy, will turn away bincha, your son. Right? Meaning, since the guy was with a Jewish woman, that's bincha, it's your son. But it doesn't say that what? If she will turn away, because that if it's from she, it's not your son. And therefore, says the Gemara, that's the limud. This is the shus of the Chum. Amakra, ki yaser es bincha me'acharai. He will turn away your son from after me. Bincha miYisrael is kari bincha. Your son from Yisrael is called bincha. Ve'in bincha haba min avis kechavim, but a son that comes from a guy, kari bincha, comes from a female guy, is not called bincha. Ela bina, it's called her son. It's called her son. Ravina shmamina. What do we hear from here? Now Ravina, I don't know what he's adding. Ben bitcha, the son of your daughter, haba min avis kechavim, that comes from a guy. So a guy was with your daughter, and now it has another daughter, or that has a son. Kari bincha, it's called your son. Okay, now. Ravina, who said this, you're calling it your son, so it's mashma. There's a machlokes. We had it earlier whether the Vlad is a mamzer or not. We had this earlier in the Masechta that Eved the Akum Haba Bas Yisrael, whether the Vlad is a mamzer or the Vlad is a Jew. So mashma over here, it's a kosher because we're calling it bincha, right? The goy was with the Jewish woman and she had a child, and that's called bincha. So we want to say that it's a kosher. Says and for the Gemara, it's not vada that is kosher. He the mamzer loyhave. Good, he's not a mamzer, but kosher nami loyhave. But he's not a kosher. Yisrael psul mikri. We'll call him Yisrael psul. Fred the Gemara kasha. It says lo yaser. Hay mi shiva umeis ksiv. This is written out from the Shiva Umais. So maybe only the 7 nations. Fellas, is Gemara in Chulin. The Gemara says that the Ikar Avodah Zarah was in Eretz Yisrael from the Zayin Umis, and Chutz La'aretz is Minig Avasechem V'Yedechem. In Chutz La'aretz, Minig Avasechem V'Yedechem. Ikar Avodah Zarah in Eretz Yisrael. So maybe if you're worried about intermarriage because of Avodas Kechavim, maybe it's only vis-a-vis the Zayin Umis who are the Makar for Avodah Zarah. But maybe when they're not the Zayin Umis, maybe that child would not be considered. Maybe that child would be considered a Yid. Right? Because this passage of Ki Yasser is speaking by the Zayin Umais. Hanichal Reb Shimon, the Darish time of the Kra. This would be very good at Reb Shimon, who learns time of the Kra, who learns the reason of the pasuk, that therefore the reason is going to turn you away will make a difference, whether what? The Zayin Umais or any other guy. El Rabbanim Minalahu, where they know other nations. Since the Gemara, Matana, the Polo of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, who's the Tana Ogs of Rabbi Yehuda, is Reb Shimon. It's Reb Shimon. Okay, quick recap again. Machloikis Rabbanan hold what? Two lavim. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda holds 1 lav. The Eishes Avicha. What do you learn from Eishes Avicha? Rabbi Yossi learned out. He learned out what the Isser of Avodas Kechavim and the Isser of Shifcha, because there's no Ishis. The Chachamim learn out Shifcha from what? From Isha Ladel to Neha, and learn Akum from Kiyasa Bincha. That's a quick summary of the daf. Get ready. Okay. Okay, Amid Beis. Okay, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to do the book before we see any Hebrew words, okay? Before we see Hebrew words, it's going to be difficult. So let's take a look, and we'll begin on... 145. Somebody's ready. Somebody is ready. We'll begin on 145. Okay, the top line, Misha Kiddush Achas Mishtei Achayos, Ve'eno Yoidea Ezem Kiddush. A man was Mekadesh, one of 2 women. He doesn't know which one is Mekadesh. So here you have, right, and these 2 women happen to be sisters, guys. These 2 women happen to be sisters. So a man, Gershon is Mekadesh Machla V'Noah. He doesn't know which one of the 2 sisters that he is his wife. What does he have to do? He has to divorce both. He has to divorce both. Because maybe the one that he would live with would be Achas Ishto. Since you don't know, this is the easiest case. You just divorce both. Guys, good? Now, the corollary case will be a case of Yibum. Then instead of Gerushin, you'll give Chalitza to both. In other words, you'll have a case of Yibum in this where one brother, we have, that's the next case, guys. Watch, the next case. Mace, Veloy Ach Echad. So now, again, Gerushin does not know who he gave Kedushin to. Machla V'Noah. Now, what happens if he dies? So instead, he obviously Kahus does not have to give a get. He was never married to them, but one of them is the Yevamot L'Shuk, guys. Guys, one of these 2 women is the Yevamot L'Shuk. She was married to him, right? And she has no children. So in order to avoid any first problems, you do what? You give Chalitza to both. Now let's just fear us, guys. Now what? Okay, so now let's go why you couldn't go ahead and give Yibum over here. What happens if you would be Yabim 1? Now, if it's your brother's wife, great, right? But if it's not your brother's wife, it's Achos Zeku Kaso. Again, it's the sister of the Zika. Remember that Zika carries it, right? Now, what about the other way around? What happens if you give Chalitza to one and marry the other? In other words, instead of doing Yibum to one, give Chalitza to one and marry the other. What's wrong with that? Let's go. Okay. Okay. This one. Achas. This is Achos Chalutza. So we're introducing this for the first time. There's a din of Achos. You can't marry the sister of your mechulitza. Guys, listen. Just like you can't marry the sister of your gerusha, if you're married to a woman and you divorce the woman, you can't marry a sister. So too, if you go ahead and give chalitza to a woman, you can't marry the sister. So this would be achos chalutza. So for the rest of the night, just remember one thing: if it's one brother, he can never do yibum. One brother's either got to do chalitza or get. He can't do both. He can't do yibum. One brother can't do yibum because you're always going to have the problem of either achos zukukaso, or if he gave chalitza achas chalitzaso, or Yevamot L'Shuk, or I'm saying so he can't go ahead and do anything. One brother. When you have two brothers, then it gets interesting. Okay, so now we did two cases. One, no brother at all, right? And when the brother no one dies, he doesn't know who he married, two gittin. He dies, two women, one's Yivam L'shuk, Chalitza. So far, so good, right? Next case, page 147. He has three brothers. Gershon, Kos, Merab. He added one more brother there, right? Same scenario. Gershon's Mekadesh, Machla, V'Noah. He does not know which one. He does not know which one. Listen what Kahos gives Chalitza to one, right? And the other brother can be Miyabim the other one. Either way. Okay, let's go through it. Let's go through it. One's brother gives Zika, so Maman of Shach. What's left over is what? If it's the real Yevama, great. And you worry, why were you worried about marrying her? Achos Chalutza, so she's not, there's no Zika. She's what? She is a free woman. So as my Chavrusa said this morning, it's not a Yibum Dekadin, it's Kedushin. If there's no, you're marrying her, but since it's not the right one, the only problem marrying her would be what? It's Achos Kukaso. No. So in this case, we have two brothers. One, by taking off the Zika, takes care of the Zuka Kasei, and the Yibum, great. If you're doing Yibum, that's great. Guys, this is the basis. The last two cases are the basis for the rest of the other cases. Again, one case. One brother can never marry. He has to give Chalitza. Two brothers, one can go ahead and give Chalitza. The other one can do Yibum. And I think we know enough that it falls into place. Right? I think you know enough it falls into place. It's good. Okay? It's always good to see in front of you. Now, page 148. 148. Shnayim shekitzu shtei achayos. Now, until now, we're dealing with one brother. Now you got two brothers who marry two sisters, and of course, they don't know which one they married. Now, the only way out over here is what? There's no yibum over here. They both have to divorce both. Because again, you want to ensure that the real husband is divorcing. So they have to, just as one person gives a get to both, over here, you're going to have 4 gittin, 2 to each one. Good. Next. Mesu lezeh ach ulezeh ach. Now, they die and each one has one brother. Now, why did we say, guys? You can never do yibum if it falls to one, correct? Guys, you can never do yibum if it falls to one. So what's happening over here? Kahos gives chalitza to both, and the falu gives chalitza to both. You need to free them. You can't marry them. It's achos kukaso. So each one gives chalitza to both. That's the same thing as, really, you know what it is, guys? Watch. It's Pasha formula where one gives a get. In even situation, you give chalitza to both. So therefore, now you're just timesing it out. If 2 people are there and they're 2 kedushin and no one dies, 4 getting 2 and 2. So same thing, chalitza, right? Each one's getting chalitza from 1 and 1. That would take care of that. Now, next. This gets really interesting. Okay, you have 131, right? On page 150. You have Gershon and Kahas, and then you have 3 brothers, Chetzoin, Paloi, and Chanoich. You have 2 sisters, Machla and Noah. Gershon and Chanoch marry them, and they don't know who they married. They married them, they don't know who they married. Now Kahas, he's got to give chalitza, right? To both. Guys, Kahas gives chalitza to both. Why? Because each one possibly is his Yevama. So he gives chalitza to both. Then comes along one of the Chetzoin V'Falu, right? One goes ahead what? One gives chalitza, and the other one gives what? Can do yibum.
Yeah, that's the case. Of the brother and two brothers.
That one again. That's the case.
Once you knock off that one.
Once you knock off that one, then Maman of Shach. It's either the right Yevama or you took care of Zika with. Now, here's the final case. Guys, look at on the bottom of 151. You're not supposed to marry, but if you did do yibum to both, since eventually you did yibum to both, there's no zika to either one of them. So one was married be'issa. If you did yibum initially, maybe you got achos sukuka. So guys, the first one, you're supposed to give chalitza first, and then supposed to go ahead and do yibum. Let's say you didn't do chalitza first. Let's say you did yibum to one, and the other one did yibum to the other. So zika, the zika is off. Afterwards, the zika is off. So therefore, what they would aim might see me. They would stay. You could stay together. We won't tell them to leave. They'd say you could stay together because there is no achasukuka. So because even though you were over the issa when you did do it, but it's not like you're remaining there. Now, L'zeh Shnayim, page 152. You have two women, two brothers married. They didn't know who they married. Each one has two brothers. Now they each can, what can two brothers do? Each one brother, guys, watch. One brother gives chalitza to one set, from one other brother from the other set gives chalitza to the other set, and then they verse and they do yibum. Guys, watch. A and B, like here's these two and these two. So this one gives to this one, and this one gives to this one. So either way, it's covered. Why? Because now each one does yibum. By giving chalitza and yibum, you've taken care of any zika or any problem. That's good.
And chalitza first.
Chalitza for always chalitza first, because again, not chalitza first. You have achas kukaso. You have to worry about achas kukaso. Now, what happens if two of them go ahead? Page 153. If two of the brothers go give chalitza to one woman, right? Then the other woman, then chetzron would be able to go ahead and if it costs 1 second, what happened over here? You have Kosim and Rabbi, they go ahead and they give chalitza, right? Now, Palu will give a chalitza, and Chetzron would be miyabin. And if, right, then Kodmu Elu Shnayim, they go ahead and instead of giving chalitza, they go ahead and get married, then what? Okay, that's the, let's see it inside. Now we'll go through it, it'll go geschmiert, as they say. Misha Kiddush Achash B'Shtei Achayos. Guy is Makadish two women. Then Yodeya Eis Mehen Kiddush. He doesn't know which one. Nice and get Lezu, but get Lezu. He has to give get to both because he's married to one of them. Mace, if he dies, V'loy Ach Echad, then he's going to have to give Chalitza to both. Chalso L'Shnayim. Guys, all good, right? Guys, all good? Hayuloi Shnayim. He has two brothers now. Echad Chalitz, one gives Chalitza, that takes off any Zika. The Echad Miyabim. Miman of Shach, guys. It's either what? The guys, it's either the Yevamot or it's what? It's the free woman, and the Zika has been taken off. If they go ahead and both married, because you took off the Zika with the Yibum. Two men, Makadish, two women. Is a Kiddush, is a crazy case. Each one doesn't know. You have no choice. No one's dead. You have a woman, you got to make sure they're divorced. You need 4 gittin over here, 2 to one, 2 to the other. Mesu, they die, both of them. They have one, he's got to give chalitza to both. Again, no problem. It's interesting. The one that gave, guys, if it's pashut, the one that's one gives chalitza to both. The one that's two gives one gives chalitza, the other one does evil. Right? Again, this is just a rule of thumb. Shmir goes right along. What happens if you go ahead and does yibum instead of chalitza? Ein mitzin miyadam, they stay together. Two brothers give two kedushin to each. They don't know. Each one has 4 brothers. Now, what are you going to do over here? We're going to cross. What? No, you have 4. There's 4 brothers. You have 4, right? 2 and 2. Now the 2 brothers they makarish, they don't know, and now you got 2 left, right? And each one has 2 brothers. Each one has 2 brothers. So now, if each one has 2 brothers, what do you do? Says the Gemara. One brother marries the chalutza of this one. Okay, now they can't stay within the family because then maybe they're missing the whole boat. But by cross-referencing, you're ensuring that one you're getting chalitza or yibum from the right one. By going ahead and crossing over, you're getting chalitza or yibum from the right one. If they both give chalitza, is that miyab chalitza jalzeh? Kod mushnayim v'cholzu. If they both go and give chalitza, lo yibmu ashnayim ela but you shouldn't both do yibum ela echad chalitz v'echem yabim. However, kod v'konsu emetzim yada. You're not going to stop. Okay, now guys, the havamina of the Gemara is the following: you don't know who you married. You sent right. A woman made a shliach to Makabel Kedushin, and he's Makabel, and he doesn't know for which one he's Makabel. In other words, this guy never recognized who he was married to. He was never hikar kala. Why? Because the kala went ahead. She appointed a shliach to accept kedushin, and she accepted for two sisters. And he says, I don't know which sister I accepted it for. So he doesn't know, and certainly the chassan doesn't know, right? Good. Now, is it a good kedushin? Yeah, because you need a get, right? It's a good kedushin. You need a get, yeah. The shaila is over here, and it's a machloikis. This is a kedushin she'ein mesurin lebiyah. This is a kedushin that is not given over to biyah. You might be familiar with this, guys. This is the yal kagam. This is the This is the kedushin of the Al Kigam, but Machlokes Abaye v'Rava, we're going to pass on like Abaye. Okay, whether kedushin shemus surun lebia have kedushin or not. Mashma from this Gemara clearly have kedushin because this man could go ahead and live with. He's living with his wife, or he's living with Akas Ishtay. There's no bia. There's no possible bia over here, right? So says the Gemara. Shmami, you know, from the case over here where you say you have to give a get to both. That kedushin shemus surun lebia, that kedushin that cannot be consummated, right? Have a kedushin. It's good kedushin. And this is machlokes Abaye v'Rava. And if the Gemara Chachamay skinon kishahukru lebesleif nesavlo. It's not speaking in a case where you didn't know, it's speaking where you did know. At one point in time, the guy knew who he was married to and he forgot. So now, Dekanami, it doesn't say Dekanami, the Tani Vena Yodea, he does not know. The Loikatani Vena Yudua, and it was not known. Guys, Ena Yodea means he doesn't know now. Ena Yudua means it was never known. So it's Meduyik from the Mishnah. We're speaking in a case where he had known rather than a case where he had never known. Good, very good. Shema, you know you have a good raya. Frag my kamash. Well, what's the chiddush then? Says my safe. It's strichly. Here's the chiddush. Meis v'lei achechad. If he dies and he has one brother, chaylus l'shteyim. Hayalosh shnayim. If he has two brothers, echad chaylus v'echem miyabim. Dafka michlatz v'hada yivume. First the chalitza has to take place first, and then the yibum. Ava yivume b'reisha loy. Why? The kapaga ba'achas zekuka. So the chiddush is to tell me yesh zika. The chiddush is to tell me yesh zika. In other words, why can't you do yibum first, guys? Because what? Because you're going to maybe, if it's not the Yevama, it's the sister of Yevama. And she's also because of what? Achos, the sister, Zukuka So, the one that's like to you for Yibum. That's the Chiddush of the Mishnah.
We didn't bring this as a raya though.
We didn't bring rayas. We had questions over there. Okay, again, we're just saying that's the Chiddush over here. I don't know, it's not Dafka board every case over there. There's many more cases of Zika. Many more cases of Zika. Now, next case, Shnayim Shekitu Shtei Achayos. You have two that were Makadesh, two Achayos, and you don't know, right? Says the Gemara, Shmami no Kedushin Mesuron Lebi Abi Kedushin, because after all, we again the same kasha. Achanami Kishahukul B'Seif Nesavu. You did know. They can Ami Diktani. Then your day of like Tanim Vidu. Shmami no my Kamashon. What's the Chiddush? Sefer Tzrichli. Mesu Lezeh Mesu Lezeh Echad Lezeh Shnayim. Guys, outside. One has one brother, one has two brothers. The one that has one brother has to do chalitza to both sides. The one that has two brothers, one does chalitza and one does what? Yibum. Good. So what's the chiddush over here? Hayochid chaylis t'shteyem, v'ashnayim echad chaylis v'echem miyabim. Pshita, hainu reisha. That's the exact same case of reisha. Just move down one. So Ma'od Tema leaves a tray at the chad. I might think that what? That you worry that what? If you let the tray atuchad, if you let the two do, right, then the single brother might come to do, right? I might think tray atuchad. I might think that what? That the single will do yibum. That's what I learned. I just to make sure again. Leyivume echem mishnayim elu v'echem mishnayim elu b'loy chalitza. Okay, you know, you worry that what? No, I think that's it. So ma the tema nigzar dilma asi leyivume echad mishnayim elu v'echem mishnayim elu b'loy chalitza. So I might think we're goysa shrei atuchad. That what? That just like one gives chalitza to both, so to the two brothers have to be chalitz shneihem. And one, so you might think, guys, I think like this. We won't let two do yibum, any of them to do yibum, because then the chad might come to do yibum, right? In other words, the din in one is he has to do chalitza to both. The din in two is one does chalitza, one does yibum. So what's the chiddush? If you let one do yibum, then one might come to do yibum, and that's a problem.
Which one you do first?
Again, no, forget the order. Watch, forget the order. By the case of one, he can't do yibum, right? He can't do yibum. The case of two, one does chalitza, one does yibum. So I might think in the case of two, we don't let him do yibum. Because if we let him do yibum, the one may come to do yibum. So I might think you guys should trey to chad. And just like chad, we don't let you do yibum. We won't let two do yibum because we're worried they may do it to chad. Kamash malon. The dafka michlitz v'hada yivume. Guys, over here, she's receiving chalitza from two. She's chalitza from the single guy, and chalitza. Now, what happens if she would only get chalitza from the brother? She may be completely Yavam L'Shuk, because maybe this had nothing to do with the brother, the two. This woman that they're doing to may be what? Married to the other brother. And she might be a complete right. No, V'dafka Michlatz V'hadi Yevume, Aval Yevume Bereisha Loi. In other words, guys, watch. Guys, here you have it. Watch. You got two women, and you got one brother and two brothers, right? So these two women, why do we say the following? This single brother gives chalitza to both, and then the two brothers, one gives chalitza, and one does yibum. That's what happens, and marries them. So everything would be good. What's the kiddush over here? That if this single brother does not do chalitza, and only the two brothers do chalitza, maybe they're acting upon what? Upon the woman that had no shaykhs to them. Maybe it was the wife of the other one. She'd be Yavam L'Shuk, because the chalitza of them didn't make a difference. It's not falling to them. It's falling to the other one. Kamash Malan, that what? So therefore, that's the chiddush. The dafla michlitz from the both of them, from the single brother and the other brother. V'hadi Yevume. Aval Yevume bereisha to do yibum first. Loi the kapaga be Yavam L'Shuk. Kenzan you pagay Yavam L'Shuk. L'zesh time l'zesh nayim hasulamli again. Hainu hach. By this time you already know everything. The mother tema ligza dilan miyabim b'lei chalitza kamash malan. Maybe you do leap even b'lei chalitza. So this is on the last case, right? You have what? What's the last case? You got two brothers. And we said that one gives chalitza to one gives chalitza to the other from each pair, and then the Yevamis go ahead and do the other pair. And what? And if they both do yibum, ein might see the other. That was the last case. Read the Gemara. So Maishna mechodit na. What's the difference to the following Mishnah? Now again, our case, guys, two dinim. Our case we're doing yibum, yes. Our case we're doing yibum and not chalitza. In our case, if they do get married, we're ein might see miyadam. We let them stay together. Yes, good. Now this is the famous case that we began Daf Yud Ches. This was our Zika case. This was Yiraya to Achas Sukukasov. Arba Achim, you got four brothers. Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Mehen Nesu and Shtei Achayos, and Reuben and Levi are married to Chana and Penina. Umesu, and they both Reuben and Levi die. Umesu and Nesu and Esachayos. So now you have Levi and Yehuda. What do? They give chalitza and na'im. They can't marry either one. Either one is Achas Sukukasov. And says the Mishnah, Vim Kansu, Maitzim Yada. And if they get married, then they get divorced. Fred the Gemara Kasha, why over here do we allow you to do Yibam? And why why over here, if you marry them, they both do Yibam, you let them stay together. And over there, right, you can't do Yibam, and over there what? Okay. Guys, what's the difference? Guys, watch. Over there, the Vadai both falling to Yibam. We have two Yevamis. Over here, we just don't know who it is. Yeah, it's a suffix who it is, but so that's the difference. Says the Mahachiyashta. What's your tushtel? Hasam over there. The reason you can't do yibum is ilam adam yesika, and you can be paga be'achas sukukaso. V'ilam adam asal levatal mitzvah yivavim. Guys, so we said go ahead and do yibum to both. Do yibum to both. So what are we worried about? If you do yibum to one and then the other brother drops dead, you're going to not be able to go ahead and do anything to the other one. She's going to go free without anything. And you'll be mevatel mitzvahs yivamim. So to ensure that we won't have a problem, you give chalitza to both. So either way, that's why we decided over there. You can't go ahead. If you hold yesika, there's no way you can marry both because it's achas kukasoy. And even if you hold ein zika and you could do yibum, you still have a problem. If you can do yibum to one, you're worried that maybe that other brother that's going to do yibum to the other will die before he gets a chance to do yibum, and therefore what? You won't be able to marry it because it'll be achas ishto. It'll be achas ishto. So therefore, however, over here, aslavad mesivavim. So hacha kol chad v'chad ein medidei kamisramilei. Over here, that the problem is it's the suffix over here that creates the problem. There, it's not two sisters falling. Only one's falling. We just don't know which one is falling. Over there with guys, Shimon and Levi die. Reuben and Shimon die. Both Yevamis are falling to Levi of Yehuda. Two are falling. Over here, only one is falling. We just don't know which one it is. By the case of the four, you have two women falling to each brother. To each brother, it's Achos Sekukaso. There are two sisters to Levi and two sisters to Yehuda. Over here, no. Over here, only one is falling to each one. And therefore, it's not pshat. I have a zika. I only have a zika on one of them. I don't know which one that is, but I have an eitzah. I have a workaround. You give chalitza to both, then give chalitza to one, and then boom, you'll be free. Guys, you good? Good. Says the Gemara Vaita. Says the Gemara. Tani Shila, Vafilu Shneim Kahanim, and even both of them Kahanim, they can go ahead and stay married. My timer, Chalutza de Rabbanon, he, the Safik Chalutza legazvu Rabbanon. It's a Safik Chalutza legazvu Rabbanon. Right? It says the Gemara, Chalutza de Rabbanon, he, but Tanan, Gerusha, it says, Ainli Ela Gerusha, Chalutza Minai, and it says, V'isha Gerusha Lesikach. It says, Gemara Tamalim V'isha. It says, the Rabbanon, again, this is a good Gemara to know, guys. The Rabbanon, who? Chalutz is the Rabbanon, the cross mach the Balmahu. So what's over here? It's a suffix whether Chalutz or not, right? With the Rabbanon, we're not going, so therefore, even if the Kahanim, they could stay married. What?
Yeah, it wasn't.
What?
Yeah, that 2 hour shoot. After that 2 hour shoot, there's nothing that's hard.
Yeah.